So in this video, I'm going to be showing you 14 Minecraft speedrunning tips and tricks, and these range from beginner to intermediate to advanced. So if you've been playing for a long time, then you'll probably at least learn something, and if you're still pretty new to speedrunning, then you'll probably learn a lot. But I don't want to ramble on for too long, so let's get right into the video. So if you've ever watched a high-level speedrun, you've probably noticed that they will do this thing where they turn their FOV all the way down and then they spin in a circle. And the reason that they do this is because they're looking for a bastion using a strat called entity scanning. So if we look up here at the E value, you can see that the first number represents all the entities that are on my screen. So obviously there are not 65 mobs on my screen because it works through walls. It essentially gives you mob X-ray. The second value is everything else, so all the mobs behind me and essentially everything that's in the chunks loaded around me. So the typical mob cap, if there was no structures around me, would be about between 80 to 100 mobs. And right now it is well above that. It's at 164, 160-ish. And so I know that there is a bastion. The reason I know that is because when a bastion spawns in, it has all the piglin inside of it, and those are like permanent mobs that don't contribute to the mob cap. So it kind of adds on top of it, and that's how you get these really high second numbers. So looking at the second number, I know that there is a bastion somewhere around me, but we can turn our FOV down to make our screen really small and then essentially scan around us until that number peaks up really high. So right around here, it's hitting almost 30. That's what you want to look for. Sometimes it'll go up to almost 40 as well. And so I know that there's probably, almost certainly, a bastion behind this wall. So if I go this way, and I keep heading this way, you can see there's a bastion right here. And I was able to identify that there was a bastion somewhere around me and then pinpoint its exact location just by using the entity counter. So let's say that I just finished looting this village and now I'm running this way trying to find a lava pool on the surface and I don't see one. What most speedrunners would do is dig straight down in sort of a last effort to try and find a lava pool. But rather than just digging down randomly, you can actually dig down beside a water pool on the surface and it will drastically increase your chance of finding lava. I don't know how or why this works, I just know that it does, but water pools, so there's like two right here, so normally I'd dig down straight in between them, and then I would end up right here, which is very, very close to a lava pool. If I was to go up and there's a bunch of water pools right here and I was to dig straight down, you can see I would also end up very close to lava. And once again, this is a pretty big water pool. If I go down, you can see, once again, a bunch of lava. And this isn't really just like a coincidence. If you look at where all these water pools are, let's say I go in the middle, you can see I'm kind of digging down into nothing. Like there's a big open space right here, right where all the water pools are missing. So once again, I don't know how this works, but I just know it's been proven. It's some sort of like coding thing. And yeah, so just dig down beside water pools. So one thing that you've probably noticed a lot of speedrunners do when they're in the nether is kind of tilting their screen like this and then looking over on the left or right side of their screen. And the reason that they're doing this is to try and see a little bit further. Because of the fog that is in Minecraft, and when you're in the nether, it's very apparent. You can see this kind of lava pillar right here, right on the edge of the fog, if I'm looking right at it. But if I turn my crosshair or my screen to the left, you can see that that lava pillar is now super visible and it's not right on the edge of the fog anymore. And if I continue kind of looking around like this on the left side of my screen over here, you can't see anything right now. But one thing that you can do is increase your FOV from something like normal all the way up to Quick Pro. And now, if I tilt the edge of my screen, you can see a bastion over here. And I wasn't able to see this before. So both using the edge of your screen and increasing your FOV to get even more of an effect allows you to see much further in the nether. Another thing that a lot of people don't realize is that whenever you're in the water, whether you're using a dolphin to swim around or you're in a boat like I am, you can kind of angle your camera like this, not so that you're under the water because you can see there's that like fog in the way, but angle your camera perfectly like this, and now you can see that I can completely see everything under the water. This makes it a lot easier to find shipwrecks or any sort of light under the water, or especially when you're looking for the stronghold. But another thing that comes with this is that you'll notice that my game probably looks a lot brighter than yours when I'm looking under the water like this. And the reason for this is because you can actually increase your brightness up to 500%, and I'll show you how to do that now. So if you go into your .minecraft folder and you scroll down to options.txt, you can open this and then find gamma, which is right here, and this will automatically be set to 1, but you can increase it all the way to 5, and this is completely allowed. This is what every speedrunner does, and this is 100% allowed for like world record runs and everything. So the next thing I want to talk about is nether quadrants and essentially how structures spawn in the nether. So if I come out of my portal and I'm facing positive, positive, and the way that I know that, by the way, is if you look right here, it says towards positive X, and then if I look this direction, it says towards positive Z, and so this diagonal is positive, positive. If we go this way, there's a fortress here. So because there's a fortress in this quadrant, I know that there is not a bastion in this quadrant. And so if we were to go down this direction to look for a bastion, oh, there's another fortress in this quadrant as well, which is positive, negative, by the way. So let's go to this other quadrant, which is negative, negative, and it kind of just looks like there's a lot of lava, and if this was a real run, I would not want to go this way. So let's go over here, and this is negative, positive, and there's a bastion. So this seed is pretty good. This is a really lucky seed because there's 3 structures. Honestly, you could get 0 structures, but the thing to take away from this is that because there's a bastion in this quadrant, I know that there is not going to be a fortress if I go this way. Let's say I do all my trades, I have my pearls and my fire res, I'm ready to go look for a fortress. I don't want a pearl in this direction, which if you didn't know this information about quadrants, then you might just randomly pearl this way because you don't know where you're going, you're just looking around the nether for a fortress. But because of your new knowledge of quadrants, you know that you should go this way or this way, because if you were to head in this direction at all, you're not going to find a fortress for another like 500 blocks. So this, at first glance, might look like a really bad spawn. There's no village in sight, no ocean for ocean strats, you're kind of just in the middle of nowhere. But what I see is a cave, lots of trees, and water. So what I'm going to do is grab just enough wood so that I'm able to craft a stone pickaxe, and then run into the cave and immediately start looking for iron. As soon as I spot the iron, I immediately start working on crafting a furnace so that I can craft the furnace, then grab this iron, 1 piece of coal, and throw it all in so that it starts smelting as soon as possible. From here, I don't have the 7 iron that I need, so I go and find some more, throw that in. And now I have the 7 iron that I need smelting, so I have lots of time to go do everything else I need. So I go back up out of the cave, I grab some extra wood that I need, I grab this gravel and get insanely unlucky. Like, I had to break at least 30 or 40 pieces of gravel. Hopefully that doesn't happen to you. Because it took me so long to break all those pieces of gravel, by the time I get back, my stuff is done smelting, and from there I just craft all of the iron stuff I need. I did have to run back up to grab the water. I could have optimized this better by just putting my furnace in a different area, but I run back up, get my water, and then I immediately go to head down the cave and look for lava. Sadly, my cave ends pretty quickly, so I just decide to dig down, but after just a few seconds of digging, I immediately hear lava, and I dig towards it, and I make my portal, and then I'm in the nether. And you can see I did that at about the 4:15 mark was my nether entry, which is not at all bad. The amount of time it would take you to loot a village and then maybe find a lava pool on the surface, or if you had to dig down, or if you're even doing ocean strats, like if you get a good ocean, then you can definitely enter at like 2 minutes, but even like a half decent ocean, you're going to be entering at the 3 to 4 minute mark. So this is like on par with other strategies that people use. The one thing that sucks about this is that you don't have food, but if you don't spend a century breaking gravel like I did, then you can use your flint and steel to cook up some animals that might be around you. I genuinely think that even though this is so like bare bones and basic, it's a really good strategy to start out in the overworld. So this next tip is going to be for after you blind travel out of the nether, essentially using triangulation to figure out how far away the stronghold is. So the way that you use triangulation is while you're standing still, you turn on F3 and you throw an eye, and then place your crosshair right on top of the eye, and you want to look right here on F3. So this is my horizontal angle, so I'm just going to remember 78.3, and then I'm going to run straight forward, and this is where I would pick up my eye, but my eye broke, so if your eye didn't break, then just run forward and pick it up. But otherwise, you want to turn 90 degrees to the right and then sprint jump 5 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is roughly 20 blocks. It's not going to be exact, but this is just for a rough estimate. Throw another eye and get this angle. So this time you can see it's 73.5. Before we had 78 point something. I don't remember, but that's a pretty big angle change. So it's about 4 to 5 angle change, and so you do some pretty advanced math in your head, and then you know that it's roughly 200 to 250 blocks away. Obviously, I'm just kidding. Here's the chart that I'm looking at. The only way to really actually know is to just memorize this chart, because the math that you have to do is extremely complicated and you wouldn't be able to do it in your head. And you're also not allowed to use calculators during a speedrun because they're banned. But using triangulation like this is super important, I think, for right after you blind travel, because sometimes you might get extremely lucky, and maybe I blind traveled and I throw an eye and then I run this direction for like 400 blocks and then I throw another eye because, you know, I'm trying to be conservative, but the stronghold was right here. Like, that would just be extremely unlucky, and so using this is just obviously going to gauge how far away it is. And sometimes maybe the stronghold is 1,000 blocks away, and then at that point you might as well just reset. So doing this right when you get out of a blind travel, I think, is super important. So this next thing I want to talk about is probably going to sound pretty obvious and very simple, but it's about not taking damage. And I don't just mean like not taking damage from blazes or piglins, because obviously that is very important, because they do a lot of damage, but small things like taking, like, if I was to fall from here and take damage, or like fall down onto this and take damage, maybe I'd take like 1 heart of damage from that fall. But that's still food that you have to use to heal that damage. And in more modern strats where you really don't have very much food, maybe you're running on mushroom stew, if you did a village and you have like 80 bread, then sure, take as much damage as you want. But if you're doing more modern strats where you're really scarce on food, just learning to minimize your damage, like placing a block underneath you as often as you can, that's really going to be important for getting faster runs. Because not only in certain situations do you not have food, but you're also learning to like not need food. The less time you spend collecting food, the less time you spend eating that food, that's all time saves essentially. So I feel like a majority of people by now know how to build another portal inside of a lava pool, but a newer strat that I feel like not as many people know about is building another portal in a magma ravine. So I'm in a magma ravine, and the very first thing you want to do is find magma that makes an L-shaped pattern like this. Really anything will work as long as you have obsidian on either side. So another good example is like, this isn't an L, it's more of like a Tetris piece, but I can stand in this position on this block and then still have that obsidian on either side. So for this example, I'm just going to use this piece right here. The first thing you want to do is break one of the blocks and then immediately place a door inside of this little area. And now place your other 2 doors right here. If for whatever reason you don't have 2 extra doors, you can just place 4 blocks here, like any normal block, just to fill up this space. And then from here, you just want to place a block like this and then break the block underneath it. Make sure that you empty your water bucket first. And now we're going to clear out the lava that's kind of going to be in the way of our nether portal. So we don't want obsidian to be in these 2 slots right here. So I'm just going to clear the lava out of these 2 slots first. And then I can basically take from anywhere except underneath those 2 sections that I just took. So you're only going to need those 4 pieces for up top. So as long as you take from these 2 sections and then the 2 from the back, then you'll be good. And then from here, I place my extra piece of magma that I got right here, or any block, and break this one. Now the water is going to flow down, and I just break these blocks until I have all the obsidian I need. So now you can see that the portal is completely built. The last thing to do is take the water from right here, and you can fill it in. So this next thing is super simple, but also incredibly helpful, and I feel like not enough people do this. All you want to do is go into the options and then accessibility settings and turn on subtitles. So now you can see in the bottom right of my screen, if I'm strip mining looking for lava because I want to go into the nether, I can see lava pops, and if I'm facing this way, then the lava pops will have a little arrow pointing to the left, so I already know it's this way, so I'm just going to dig through here. And if you look in the bottom right, where it says lava pops, there isn't an arrow, so I know it's in front of me, and I'm just going to find the lava first. So right now, there's no arrow, so I know that the lava is in front of me. If I do a 180 and turn around, then it's kind of like switching back and forth between left and right, which means that it's behind me. And so if you ever see that there's no arrow, then you know it's in front of you, and you can kind of like scan around and just look in the bottom right and find lava extremely quickly. So the next thing I want to talk about is monument strats, and I think that this is extremely underrated because the amount of times that I've had to go into the nether and see that I don't get a bastion and reset is super annoying. And by using monument strats, you essentially are going into the nether with a bastion in your back pocket. So if you're doing ocean strats and you see a monument, then you should definitely take advantage of it. And the way that you do so, without getting mining fatigue, is by going into video settings and just turning your render distance down to 2. And so now any mob that isn't in my render distance is going to be essentially frozen, and so they can't do anything. And so this includes the big boss guy that gives you mining fatigue, so you can swim down on the backside. You know it's the backside of the monument by these archways, and now the gold room can either be on the left, middle, or right, so you kind of just have to check all three and mine, and right now I know that this is the gold room. Basically, if you see a bunch of these green blocks, then you know it's the gold room, and so from here, you can just dig down, collect your 8 gold, and then swim out. And sometimes this isn't like 100% guaranteed that you aren't gonna get mining fatigue, but it definitely decreases the chances of it happening. And I think that this is really good because now you can essentially go into the nether and have like just some random piglins you found trading while you're getting blaze rods. So you're essentially getting pearls and blaze rods at the same time. So if anything, this can be faster than going to a bastion. So everyone knows that normal sprint jumps like this are much slower than doing head hitters like this, but if you're in a nether fortress or an end stronghold, then most of the hallways are 3 blocks high, so you're not able to do these head hitters. But one thing, if you've ever watched a high-level speedrunner, that you can do is basically placing blocks underneath your feet and spamming like this, and you don't really lose anything from it. Like you can see I suck at it, and so I was falling a little bit, but that doesn't necessarily slow me down when I fall. Like, if anything, I'm just going at the same speed, and then I'm going faster, and then I'm going at the same speed again. So obviously, if you've never done it before, it's still worth trying because there's not really any loss, and if you practice it, it's actually really effective. So if you're ever at a blaze spawner, this is a super easy way to avoid the fireballs without needing fire res, without needing a shield, without needing to do this like weird block juke glitch thingy, and then sometimes you still get lit on fire. All you do is when you get at the blaze spawner, you wait until they all spawn in, and then you just run back and forth like this. And if you don't know, blazes, when they light on fire, they'll shoot 3 fireballs, and then they extinguish themselves, and they kind of have like a cooldown grace period. So essentially what you do is wait until a group of blazes spawns, run back and forth, wait until the 3 fireballs are shot by all the blazes, and then you run into a bunch of blazes who are on cooldown, and you can kind of kill them for free. If you notice that they light on fire again, then you can just back up and then do the same thing again, and basically repeat the process until you have all your blaze rods. And that is all the tips for this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe, because that is what every YouTuber says at the end of their videos. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.